Hi beautiful people, welcome back to my channel. It's Dr. Felix Ifa here with another video. Guys, please subscribe to the channel, like, share, comment, do whatever you want to do with this video. Send it to a family member, let them be blessed by this video. Before I go straight into the video, as I always do, I would love to invite the Holy Spirit that He may give me utterance, that He may help me with this video, so that then you can be blessed with the video and not speak from my own wisdom, but by the wisdom of God. Thank you, Holy Spirit. Now, yes, so going straight into it, I want to talk about my book. My book is entitled Overcoming. It is here, really nice production. I'm proud of the book. Yes, so this book is available on Apple Books. It is available on Amazon. It is also available on my official website. If you want to read the book, you can find the book there. And yes, you shall be blessed if you read this book. Now, before I go into the chapters and what inspired the book, I want to answer some of the questions that has to do with book writing, how the ideas come about, how to get your ideas on paper and even start writing, and the final steps. I want to take you through the whole steps to actually holding the physical book in your hands and being proud of your production, being proud of your creativity, if that makes sense. So a lot of people do ask me, Dr. Felix, how did you know that, or when did you know that you wanted to write a book? If I'm going to be completely honest with you guys, I had known from the age of 12 that I wanted to write a book. The only issue is at the age of 12, I didn't have enough knowledge, or I didn't have mastery of the Italian language and the English language yet. So I was confused whether to write the book in Italian or in English. So I remember that I would pick, an exercise book, write some stories, and then, I wouldn't like it, and I would tear it off, and then I would start again, so that thing happened. So the desire to write a book has always been within me. That is also because I think right from childhood, because of life difficulties, because of like my background, I learned to sort of like get lost in books, and with my imagination, I read a lot of books. Because I remember during middle school, we would come in Italy. We have like a 3 months holiday, right? And within that 3 months, when you go on holiday, you come back and you write where you've been and how the experience was. And of course, I didn't go anywhere. I was still in my small town, Italy. And so when you come back, you have to sort of like make up stories and, say that you went somewhere when in essence you didn't go anywhere. So that actually activated my imagination, because you don't want to be the only kid that says that during the summertime you didn't travel to Portugal, didn't travel to all these fancy nice places, and so you sort of like do a search of nice places around Europe, or like, I don't know, Africa, and then you write it up. So that made me understand that I loved writing. And the Italian school system, you sort of like have to write a lot. So there is something that is called literature, Italian literature. So you read a lot about the ancient Greeks, you read a lot about the ancient, the Latins, the Romans. You read a lot about, every other country's literature. And so, I did philosophy and all these kind of like interesting subjects. And so I really, right from childhood, enjoyed literature. And so I wanted to write a book. Now, when did I actually start writing this book? I think it was 2017, 2018. That is when I decided I was going to write this book. But I still didn't have a concrete idea of where to start from and how to do it. And so I did a bit of search online, and I found that people that have written books had used Microsoft Word. But Microsoft Word, the formatting is very messy. Sometimes when, sometimes the word can shift, and then maybe like you insert a picture, and then the pictures can shift, and then the formatting is so messy. So I felt like I also had my undergrads going on, and so I was like, I don't have time right now, so I stopped writing the book. And then over time, I did a bit more research. So I think 2020, I had a bit of a bits and bobs of the book written in Microsoft Word, but it wasn't concrete. And sometimes I would just write it on my phone. So the notes on your phone, guys. If you really want to write a book, sometimes the best start is on your notes on your phone, because your phone is always in your hands. So you just take some notes on your phone, and then when you have time, you just transport it to Microsoft Word or whichever formatting word processing application that you feel comfortable with. You just transfer it to that. So in, I believe it was it was summer 2020. That is when, after COVID had hit, I had a bit more of time, and so I was having a conversation with my friend, and I said, I want to write a book. I have a bits and bobs ready, but I want to now focus and make it a concrete book, bring it into chapters, bring life to those bits and bobs. And initially I had decided to entitle the book The Microwave Generation. This is because I feel like this generation, the initial idea was that, no, actually, initially I had wanted to name the book The Autumn Leaves, but then it changed to The Microwave Generation, because I feel like this generation is much more nonchalant. It's like we want to sort of like heat up meals all the time without actually preparing for the meals, but somebody else, without recognizing that somebody else prepared the meals that we heated up. And it's like we don't really care about who made that meal. All we want to do is heat that meal up and have that meal. That is it. So I think that was the concept behind it. But then later on, in 2021, when I came across, so 2020, I had decided to write the chapters and actually deliberate, read about the chapters, and so that it actually sounds I sound like an expert in every topic that I wanted to present. Although the mindset was already in me, or like the concept were in me, but I wanted to provide expert explanation to some of the things that I talk about in the book. So in 2021, that was when I felt ready to actually put black on white, to have a plan. So what I started doing was, for every chapter, I have a specific subtitle that I wanted to talk about. So the title and the subtitles that I wanted to talk about. I think this helped me so much with the organization, and so much with organizing the book, so that then the book is not all over the place, and so the stories can flow and the chapters can actually like intersect and connect well with each other, so it can flow really nicely. That is what I did. And so that after like planning the overall plan of the book, oh my God, finding energy to write the book was very, very, very. Sometimes I woke up and I feel like, oh my God, I don't want to write. Sometimes I wake up and I feel like I'm so inspired, but then I go and then I just write like 200 words, and I feel drained, and I come back home. Also because around that time, 2021, I was in my PhD project as well. Like I was in my PhD program doing my PhD project, so it wasn't like I had a lot of free time, but I was juggling a lot of the things, a lot of like things around that time of my life. PhD, writing book, and also like working on my AI doctor. But I will talk about that in a different video. So what actually inspired and motivated me so much to write this book was a friend of mine had released her book, and I was like, oh my God, like I really now need to sit down. Sometimes when we have people around us that are doing similar things, it can actually encourage us when we have people to look up to. It could be so good for our own achievements. So when it was released, I purchased a copy myself and I looked at it and I was like, oh my God, I can't wait for my book to be translated into something as tangible as this, so that I could also hold it and say that I've written a book. And then I think it was it was around July 2021, and I came across this writing app, like for writers. It's called Scrivener. I'll put the link down below. Now I enjoyed it so much that Scrivener, unlike Microsoft Word processor, it basically helps you organize your chapters in such a way that you don't have to go through chapter 1 to actually work on chapter 2, like word processor, where you have to scroll. You can just click on chapter 1, and then chapter 1 subtitles, or create actually subtitles under chapter 1, so you can individually singularly work on each chapter in a separate panel without going through all of them. And then once you make a mistake in that subtitle or subchapter, then you can work on specifically that without having to reformat everything. So that really made the process very easy for me. So I would just channel my energy on one chapter, and then I would work through that, and then once that is done, I would just go home. So to be able to write, I think one advice that I would give anybody that wants to start a book is be consistent. No matter how tired or how lazy you feel, sometimes the best chapters or the best ideas that you will put on paper will not come when you're feeling inspired. It's learning that or gaining that habit of writing. Just take your computer, and if you're not able to write a lot, it is also fine. But gaining that habit of writing your ideas, and you never know, once you start writing, the ideas may start flowing. And I noticed that with me a lot. Sometimes I feel like I didn't want to write, but then I would go to where I used to write a lot is cafes. I would go to cafes, get my hot chocolate, get like an almond croissant. If you know me, you know that I love my almond croissant. Get 2 almond croissants, sit there and start writing, start dropping my ideas on the Scrivener. And then for some reason I get inspired, and then the ideas start flowing. So sometimes I may write I may finish a whole paragraph with being very happy about the paragraph. Sometimes too I may go and I feel like I don't have inspiration, and that's okay. So I wrote a little bit every day from 2021 till the release of the book on I believe it was 9th December 2023. So in 2 years time I had finished this book. What also helped me was the change of scenery. I think when you are in a same place writing a book, so this book I started writing this book in Milton Keynes and Oxford. So I lived in Oxford, but my parents are from Milton Keynes in the United Kingdom. So I would travel between Milton Keynes and Oxford, and I would be going to cafes in both places to write. But also in 2021, I won a scholarship to travel to the United States, to New York University, to do some work there, to do some research on the human lung, so 3D human lungs applications. Now, when I was in New York, I believe that my writing process took a turn for the better, because here I am, a small town boy from between a person who was just writing between Oxford and Milton Keynes, in the middle of New York, in this big apple, and there was never a dull day, although I was very busy. But that busy pace of the city inspired me. Most of the time I saw people, like famous people, and people like premiering their stuff on the outside. So I was like, oh my God, this could literally be me. So I think I was inspired, and there are so many nice cafes in New York, guys. If you ever visit New York, there are nice cafes in Manhattan. I believe it's 42nd Street or 43rd Street. Yes, there are really really nice cafes there. So I would just go there after my PhD project. I'll just go and sit there and spend like 2 hours, drink hot chocolate, right, and then after that I'll just go home and sleep. So that was my sort of like routine for, I believe, 4 or 5 months. And when I left New York, I had at least written. I think I left in New York around May 2022, and I had at least 5 chapters completed. Of course, one thing that I also advise before I forget is that when you're writing your book, make sure that you do not make this mistake. This is a mistake that a lot of people that are going to write a book do. As they are writing, they are editing. No, that is a mistake, because you will never feel satisfied. Have you ever seen an artist or like a writer who is very happy with the book? If you do that, your book will never get released, because you're editing and you're like, I don't really like this part, and then you take it out, and then it's like if you don't pay attention, you will probably like delay everything, and it's like, oh my god. I'm not happy, I'm not a good writer. But then if you give yourself grace and you just write, and you just keep going forward, just keep writing the chapters. Once everything is written, you can now go back, and you have a fresh mind. Maybe from the time you wrote chapter 1 to whatever, how many chapters your book is, maybe chapter 12. By the time you get to chapter 12, you have basically gained more ideas, you have more experience to come back to chapter 1 again with fresh mind and go through it, insert, edit, add more, make it more concrete, and then go through it again, doing the same for the other chapters. By the time you realize you have a good draft, maybe not the finishing draft, but a draft that is good enough to sort of like pass it to another person, for that person to now have a look at it and give you feedback. For me, thankfully, I had my friend who I met in Oxford. He is the youngest sociologist of law. Great guy. He's a genius. I love him. Shout out to Thomas Labik Amakwando. He is also writing a book. Now, when I met him, he was writing a book. He was writing a novel entitled The Half Moon. He inspired me to write my book, and my book is released. His book is almost going to release, but because his is a novel, he has to plan through the plot and the plot twist and all these things. But yeah, he's a genius, so I'm not worried about him. I'm sure that he will come out with a masterpiece, and eventually he wants to transform his book into a movie, which I can't wait, because I've had the privilege to read some bits of the book, and I loved it. Absolutely loved it. It is a great book. So guys, when it comes out, I will do a review about the book, and you make sure you get a copy. Of course, I will also put the links to the copies of my book so that you can purchase a copy. It is a great book. Now, yes, so the mistakes that you shouldn't do is rereading your editing as you're writing. Now, another mistake that you shouldn't do is don't try to make it perfect as you're writing. There's no such thing as perfect idea. I mean, again, it could be perfect, but as far as the idea makes sense to you, because you see, writing is like a therapy. You're writing to cater to your own needs. Once you have catered to your own needs, once the writing has become therapeutic for you, only then will you will it be, if you read your book or the things that you've written or the book that you've written and you are proud of it, that's when other people are going to read it and be happy and be proud of the book as well. So make sure that you are always proud of the product that you have. Of course, there are always room for improvement, and so that's not what I'm saying is not to think that your product is perfect. I don't think you will ever get to a point where you're like, this product is perfect. You just have to make sure that the idea is sound, other people giving you feedback, and then once the feedback is good, you are gonna feel like, okay, you're gonna feel more confident to put the book out there and try to publish it. Now, I think I want to go into my book, right, and tell you about the book. So this book, it basically have 9 chapters, and it is how many pages? It has 9 chapters, and it has about 190 pages. Right. So I am going to go through the chapters. Well, so 9 chapters with a preface with about the author, written by Dr. David Luther, who I met. He's an amazing researcher at the New York University. He's right now he's working at New Orleans. My advisor, supervisor, Dr. Alexis Bailey, he is a great guy. I owe everything that I have achieved for the past 5 years to him. This guy held my hands, took me to rooms that I felt like I didn't have what it took to be there, but he pushed me so hard. So shout out to Dr. Alexis Bailey. He is a senior neuropharmacologist at St. George's University of London. And yes, so these are the titles of the book. So chapter 1 is effort over intelligence. Chapter 2 is no is not a negative answer. Chapter 3 is life is unfair. Chapter 4 is you are not the victim. And chapter 5 is embrace change. Chapter 6 is doomed by perfectionism. Chapter 7 is autumn leaves. Chapter 8 is facing fear for courage. Chapter 9 is the new journey. The new journey. Oh God. So many people ask me, what is overcoming about? So overcoming is not an autobiography, although it contains elements of autobiography, right? It is not about my life. This book this book is a combination of some things that I've experienced in my life and certain conversations that I've had with successful people. Now, one thing is very common. Successful people have very similar traits to them. So I sat down and I compiled these mindset of these successful people, and I've come with this book. Now, the subtitle of the book is "In a World of Limitless Opportunities, Failure is Just an Option. The choice is yours." I believe just the subtitle gives you an idea of what the chapters are. Now, great. So each chapter basically contains like 14 pages, and yes, so I will tell you some of the stories that I have written, and of course each chapter has a subtitle. For example, chapter 1, effort over intelligence, it is actually a story that happened it's a real story that happened in a church back in Italy, where a mother of a student was very proud of the son and said that the son is so smart that even when they do not study, they still pass the exams. And so, to cut a long story short, the child actually was never able to graduate from high school, and he failed brutally. So that is why the title "Effort Over Intelligence" came into fruition. Effort over intelligence. I strongly believe that when people work so hard to get to where they are, they sort of like take offense, including myself, when people say, "Oh, you're so smart because you finished your PhD, or because you're a neuropharmacologist or toxicologist." I don't know. This statement actually rubs me up the wrong way, and I'm sure it is meant to be a compliment, but for some reason it rubs me up the wrong way. It takes away something. It takes away the effort, the hard work, the nights of sleepless nights, the sweat that I've put in my work to actually get where I am. You think I am where I am because I'm smart? Like, being smart is not enough. Being smart is good, because I always say that no matter how talented you are, it's good to be talented, but no matter how talented you are, if you do not work hard, talent hard work will beat talent when talent doesn't work hard. I will make this analogy, and I know this is an unpopular opinion, or maybe popular opinion, I don't know, but I think between Messi and Ronaldo, there is not much difference. Although one is talented and one is super hard worker, works extremely hard. I think Messi is gifted. He is a natural footballer, and Ronaldo is a great footballer, but he has to work extremely hard to get to the level of Messi. Although there is no big difference. To be completely honest, if you were to ask me between Messi and Ronaldo, I would actually pick Ronaldo, because his mindset, how he works hard to get to the place where he's actually very much on the same level as a person who's a natural footballer, is really inspiring. So, if you know me, you will know that my mindset is hardworking. Like, guys, there is no shortcut to heaven. You can't achieve success without working hard. A lot of people are in for, smart working and all this kind of like new age mindset and mentality. I don't dispute that. You don't necessarily have to work extremely hard but working smart is also working hard, as far as you are doing the work that you're supposed to do. Whether you're working smart or you're working hard, as far as you're getting to the results, that is the most important thing, right? So that is the mindset. Now, it is, I personally like chapter 1 a lot, because it is the outcome is really great, and also there is in fact research to actually back this up. When children are praised because of their intelligence, like the mom said about the child who actually never really was able to finish high school in Italy, when children are praised because of their smartness, it becomes very detrimental to that child. Because whenever they don't pass an exams or fail in exams, they start thinking that they are not smart anymore. And so the confidence or the zeal of the child get decreased. However, if a child gets, 9 over 10 in a coursework, and you say, oh, you know what? Well done, you've worked so hard to achieve this. Keep on working hard. Well done. Congratulations. You see, the child does not necessarily associate their success in that coursework to the fact that they are smart, but they associate it to the fact that they worked extremely hard, or they worked, they sat there and studied. So next time when they're not able to get 9 over 10 and they get, 5 over 10, they are not discombobulated or confused about how come, like what happened. Now they're not thinking that they're not smart anymore. They're thinking, oh, maybe I didn't work, hard enough. Maybe I didn't study hard enough. So then they can adjust their studies to next time getting getting 9 over 10 again. However, if you tell a child that they got 9 over 10 because they're smart, then next time when they don't get 9 over 10, what happened? Did their smart disappear all of a sudden? They are dumb or something? No, that is not the case. So praising kids for their smartness can be very detrimental, and instead I encourage parents, encourage child mindedness, and encourage the society to praise people's efforts, not their intelligence. Right, that's chapter 1. Now, I don't want to go too much into details, but you definitely can get the book, and you will get much more detailed, advice as to when you are, struggling with certain mindset, how that could help you achieve success. So let's go to chapter 2. Chapter 2 is no is not a negative answer, and the subtitle for this is if we surrendered to every no that life throws our way, none of us would have even learned to walk. Now, no is not a negative answer. I genuinely believe that when you get no, it is not because whatever you are applying for, or whatever the case may be, that you got the no doesn't necessarily have anything to do with you. It is never about you in life. Honestly, it is really never about you. It is really never about you. It is, if you apply for a job and you don't get the job, it is not because you're not qualified for that job. Because if you get an interview and then you don't get the job, it only means that the no for me is an acronym for new opportunities. It is an acronym for not obvious, which means that your effort and your hard work or your abilities or qualifications or I don't know, whatever the company is looking for in the person that was successful was not obvious. See, not obvious in you, which means no, right? But whenever you get a yes, it means that your effort shows, right? So for me, it is an acronym. So if I get no, it means that it is not about me, the person, my qualities and my abilities were not obvious to the person that said no to me, and so I keep on working hard. I will adjust my effort and until I get your effort shows, right? That is essentially what chapter 2 is about. But I have stories that I really go deeper into it, and I illustrate this sort of like mindset and how it could be so important and so paramount for any business person or for anybody who is aspiring to achieve success in whatever the situation may be, in business, in academics, in relationships, in 360. You see, having a mindset of not giving up can breed a lot of success in a lifetime. Because if you get no and you give up on your dreams, if Thomas Edison, and I know this story has been repeated so many times, they've been oversaturated, overconsumed, but I tell you that the reason why it is overconsumed, that of Thomas Edison's story, is because it's so inspirational and it is the epitome of never backing down. This man tried 1,000 times to invent light bulb, and all the 1,000 times he failed. See, when you fail at doing something first time, try harder. You will fail the second time, but the second time, if you fail, you will fail better. And if you fail the third time, you will fail even better. You see, failure is only true when you allow it to be so. Every successful person, every successful story has so much failure underneath it that, when you have failed so much so that the only option available is winning or is to win, then it's like you have no other option than winning. You see, I have of this mindset that when people say, "Oh, how come it seems like everything is actually working out for you?" And I say, the only reason why I win is that I have failed so much so that when failure is tired of me, I win. Like, I remember when I was applying for my PhD project, I applied so many times and I got rejected by so many universities. And I said, well, the worst case scenario is them saying no. The worst case scenario is me not getting the PhD project. Then what? What happens? I mean, if I applied 100 universities, right? Come on. You're telling me that not even one will land? So guys, it is true. Failure can be like a blow in your stomach. It can be a blow in the face. It definitely is a blow in the face, because especially when you have put in so much effort and so much work and tears and sweat in whatever application it is that you're doing. However, that shouldn't sort of like derail you from your purpose. It is never really about you. Just keep your head strong and keep your head high. Keep pushing, because some of the greatest ideas that we have in life, a lot of people suppressed. A lot of people didn't see it at the beginning, because that's what it is. When you are destined for greatness, see, most of the time you are ahead of your time. When the Wright brothers tried to invent aeroplane, I think the people around them were thinking, you guys are mad. Why would you even do this? This principle does not stand. But now look at us. We are traveling the world in hours. Literally, you could move from one end of the world to the other end of the world in literally hours. And that was impossible, I don't know, just 100 years ago, if not the Wright brothers depicting this idea and believing in the ideas and getting this idea into reality. See, the process from having an idea to reality is a lot of people trying to bring you down, people trying to sabotage the idea, people trying to tell you that idea it doesn't make sense. But you don't have to make sense. Your idea doesn't have to make sense to people that don't have the capacity to fathom what you're trying to do. And I think that is a problem with some great people. People that have great ideas, of course, are like every other human being. No man is an island. We are still social beings. So we seek for approval from our friends, families, or people that we, hold in high esteem. And then maybe these people come back to us and say, I'm sorry, but this idea is nonsensical, right? And then we drop those ideas. But honestly, most ideas that we've dropped had the potential to be multi-million ideas. And unfortunately, these are being sat in people's computers and they will never see the day of light because of us listening, or because of them listening to people's opinions, right? Opinions are like onions, they only hurt who is cutting them. But if you let them hurt you too, then the problem is not them, it is you. So guys, make sure that you work hard, make sure that you do not let anybody pin you down with their Debbie Downer syndromes. So no is not a negative answer in chapter 2. And then I go to chapter 3. Chapter 3. In chapter 2, I have a story about my friend Joshua Boache. Joshua is a great guy. I love him so much. He is a pharmacist. He's also trying to get into real estate. You see, these kind of people are my kind of people. People that have enough but still striving for more. Because there is enough evidence, especially in Black communities, that when a generation is successful, it doesn't even go beyond that generation. Maximum 2 generations down, and then we are back to square zero, because we do not have generational wealth. And now with generational wealth, I will do a video and talk about generational wealth per se. You don't have to be the person who benefits from all the wealth you are going to create, but you're creating the wealth so that your offsprings, your generation that will come out of you, will not have to suffer, or will not start from square one, So the story of Joshua is there. His story to become a pharmacist is inspirational. This same guy that was told that he didn't have what it takes to be a pharmacist. Now, of course, he is a pharmacist. So apart from real people that I have in my life, I portray their stories here. I also bring stories of Walt Disney, Oprah Winfrey, Albert Einstein, Thomas Edison, Michael Jordan, and all the success stories that we know of famous people that we all look up to. Chapter 3 is Life is Unfair. Oh man, when I was writing this book, when I thought, this has been my mindset, I think, from early on. Life is unfair. I think once you understand that life is unfair, you genuinely are very content with whatever happens. Now, the fact that life is unfair, I write the book, doesn't mean that sit down, fold your hands, and not make anything of your life. You see, I write here that the world owes you nothing, but you owe it a legacy, right? Because life is unfair and the overall energy of the world is negative, you can make life fairer to somebody, a little bit fairer to somebody. That is the whole mindset here. But I go into very much details. I go into it very philosophically, and I talk about, I use a story of a dinka and a hungry tiger. I'm proud of this story because after I finished writing the story, I was like, how did I even get here? Everybody that reads the book was like, the story I really like is a dinka and a hungry tiger. And I basically adopted, if you read Plato's the Republic, it is I basically present you as the story, and it's like, two people have done this, one person did this, and then I'll tell you what they did, and then I'm like, what do you think about that person? And then you say, oh man, that's so bad. For example, as Plato adopt this method, person steals, and it's like, oh yeah, that's so bad that the person still has stolen, and then I tell you, what about if I told you that the person, stole the thing because they were hungry and they were going to die if they didn't eat, and you're like, oh my god, like that is the sort of like technique that I adopted in the book. I think the Hungry Tiger, guys, it is a great story. If you have time, get the book, read the book, and of course there is a reflection on Adinka and the Hungry Tiger. I talk about the fact that sometimes, as human beings, you may think, you're walking down the forest and you think you meet a tiger, right, who is famished. And you may be thinking, well, I don't eat tiger, so the tiger wouldn't eat me. That is very, logically, it is true, right? Because you don't eat tiger, the tiger shouldn't eat you. But chicken doesn't eat human beings either, but we eat chicken, right? So if you actually look at it from this perspective, if you look at the perspective of the tiger eating a human being, we say, oh, the tiger life is unfair. But if you look at it from the perspective of from the perspective of the tiger, of the chicken, then human beings are unfair too. So who in essence holds the red pen to actually decide that someone has been fair to someone? I think as human beings, we think we are at the center of the universe, and so whilst unfair things happen to people, I can't dispute that, I can't deny that, but in essence, I think such as life can be nice sometimes. It can be very, very brutal. It can kick you left, right, center, like do uppercuts, do all the cuts in boxing with your life. But in essence, there is always, what I'm trying to say is that although life is unfair, there is always something positive, even in the negativity, even in the turmoils of life. There is something that you can do to make life a little bit unfair. Now I also talk a little bit about, so in chapter 4, I talk about the fact that you are not the victim. Now, here lies a case where I'm talking about a subject that is very, very touchy, right? Now, the subtitle here is Playing the Victim Puts You in the Position of Ultimate Disadvantage. When a person always feels like, victimizes themselves, it gets to a place where people are no more having pity for you anymore. It's like, okay, this happened to you. What did you do about it? Like, we understand it happened to you, unfair, life has been unfair to you, but please move on. Get up and do something about it. I absolutely go deeper into how playing the victim all the time could be very detrimental for you, and playing the victim all the time also makes you sort of like not take your own responsibilities and make you almost like self-righteous. It's like, oh my god, I didn't do anything, I've been doing everything right, and this is happening to me. So when I say that you're never the victim, what I'm trying to say is whatever happens to you, make sure that you try to circumvent the situation and take authority and take control. Now, most of the time when people are the victims, it means that something has been done to them. Would you want to be succumbing to events happening to your life? So then you become and then you become like a passive. You live a passive life. You live your life passively. But when things happen to you, of course, sometimes life can be very unpredictable. I mean, most of the time it is unpredictable. But when these happen to you, when you try hard to like come back and take matters into your hand, you live your life actively, and you basically overturn something that was meant to victimize you and be the protagonist and actually make it work in your favor, right? So say, I don't know, there is something that you don't really like about your looks or something. Sometimes people have capitalized on the things that other people are making fun of, and capitalized on it and made huge sums from their from their disadvantages and from their, I don't know, from their from the disadvantages. Yes. So, guys, that is what I talk about. I talk about don't succumb to victim mentality. I like this paragraph here a lot, because I talk about, when something happens to you, what I'm trying to say is, when something happens to you, do not feel like you can't express emotions. It is very important to express emotions. It's very important, because I was having a conversation with a friend of mine actually, and we were talking about the fact that, sometimes I know that I'm not entitled to certain emotions because I had put myself there, or things just happened to me without my contribution. However, I'm still human. I still have emotions. I still feel hurt. I still feel tired. I still feel, disappointed. And I'm not going to suppress those emotions, because the more I'm suppressing those emotions, the longer it takes for my healing to occur. So therefore, I am not going to suppress it, and I'm going to let it be. But I will give myself grace to the point where, when it's now starting to feel like I am dragging my grace period, then I'm like, okay, please, it has happened. It was not in your control. Take control. I've cried about it. Now I'm moving on to better. That is the mindset that I try to put in the book for people to grasp. Because how long are you going to cry about something that happened out of your control? How long are you going to grieve about something that you didn't commit, or that happened to you? Even if you did commit it, or even if you did contribute to it, you have to at some point allow bygones to bygones. If it is sorry that you have to say that up to someone that you hurt, say it. Beat yourself up about it, but don't dwell in that place for too long. That is about it. But I give a lot of stories. I go deeper into real life, stories and stuff like that. Chapter 5 is embrace change. Now here I talk about the fact that change is the only thing constant in life. Therefore, avoiding change is avoiding life. Now, this is so great, because I think, my favorite chapter actually is embrace change. And I talk about the fact that sometimes when we have not met a person for so long, we meet them and we say, oh my God, it's been so long since I met you, you've changed. And they act very surprised, and I'm just like, what were you expecting the person to be, to not change? Were you expecting them to go through life being exactly the same person that you saw them 2 years ago? One thing that I know for a fact is, if you knew me 3 months ago, I'm sorry, and if you don't know what is happening in my life right now, you don't know me. A lot has happened, a lot has changed. You knew me back then, you don't know me. Because as day in, day out, we are getting exposed to a lot of content, a lot of data, and these data are shaping who we are, sometimes for the better, sometimes for the worse. But in essence, these data are, being very paramount for the person we are today, right? And I all the time say that it is only a fool that doesn't change his mind. The wise always change his mind. The wise always seeks for a brighter light to adhere to when they are in a place of darkness. So I always say, change is something that I do not necessarily dislike, although it can be uncomfortable. Don't get me wrong, change can be very much uncomfortable, because imagine I have lived for the past 10 years of my life in the UK, and all of a sudden I have to move to the US. I don't know anybody. I mean, I do have friends, but they're not around me, close to me. They are somewhere in the US, and you know how big the US is. Moving from one place to the other can be so daunting. And it's like I'm in this small, in this city and in this small bubble, and I have to start everything from scratch, getting to know new people, building new connections, building a new family for myself. It can be very uncomfortable, but it is worth it. Change is absolutely paramount. Nothing actually can occur, no progress in life can occur without the person undergoing change and succumbing to change completely. Sometimes being a better version of yourself also means that immersing not even like being change being poured upon you, but immersing yourself into that change, in that pool of change, where you come out a new person, almost like getting baptized into the change. If you're a Christian, you understand what I'm trying to say. Immersed in the change and coming out brand new with Christ, with change. So although change can be very uncomfortable, it is absolutely paramount. And I also do talk about the fact that a lot of people, for example, when I was a child, a lot of people asked me, oh, what do you want to do when you grow up? Right? It almost sounds, I don't know, it sounds like a very weird question. It's almost like growth is like a finite process where you get, and there's no more growth for you. Although I understand what people mean by what you want to do when you grow up, but do we ever finish growing up though? Like, it is an everlasting process. Even a 90-year-old man who is at the latter stage of their life is still growing. They're still taking a lot of data, and they're still getting influenced and changing their mind and changing their ideas and stuff like that. So I think instead of asking kids what do they want to do when they grow up, we should ask them what do they want to do as they are growing up, because growing up is a process. It is a continual present thing. It is ever constantly happening. So I think that's one thing that I actually also go deeper into here. So that is chapter 5. Now let me go to chapter 6. Chapter 6, I talk about doomed. Chapter 6 is entitled "Doomed by Perfectionism." So here, I talk about very touchy subject, perfectionism, and the subtitle is "We were born to make mistakes, not to fake perfection." Perfection is something that every human being strives for, which is quite bizarre in my understanding, because why would you ever, as a human being, want to achieve perfection? I believe that perfection is almost the antonym of being human. Because if being human means you're flawed, being human means you can't even fathom the idea of perfection, because we are so vulnerable and we are so fragile to the point where we don't even know where we're gonna be in the next hour, because we don't have control over it. Although we like to make plans for the next 30 years, 20 years, 5 years, we don't even know what is going to happen to us in the next 20 minutes. How much more? But I'm not saying don't make plans for it. I'm just saying that make your plans, and bearing in mind that perfection doesn't exist. Bear in mind that you may not get to, even the next 20 minutes or next, 1 year. And so it is okay for things not to be perfect. It is okay for mistakes to happen. It is okay. As human beings, we could manufacture things that seem to be perfect, but over time, guess what? They they start getting they start having defects, they start getting destroyed, because nothing perfect can come out of a human being. Only God is perfection. The idea of God is perfection. God himself is perfection. Apart from God, human beings cannot fathom the idea of perfection. You can make a perfect watch that works, but then after a year, the batteries start dying, the watch start wearing off. It is perfection? No, it is not perfection. So perfection is not, but it's quite sad that a lot of people have engulfed in this idea, and it's causing them a lot of depression, a lot of anxiety. A lot of people are in relationships, not being themselves. A lot of people have experienced very stressful lives because they portrayed this facade of perfection, and now it's very difficult to live up to that sort of life, and it's like they have to cover up that life with other lies, causing unnecessary stress on their mental health. Why do that? So what I mean by that is we we may not be perfect, but we are still picture worthy, right? We may not be perfect for, I don't know, a magazine, but it is also very beautiful for you to take a picture and post it on Instagram. It doesn't matter who likes it, it doesn't matter who dislikes it. You are perfect in your imperfections. God created you in his image, which of course makes the spirit within you perfect spirit, but the body is not perfection, and we can never be like God, because he is, no matter how much we strive to be like him, we can never be like him, but we can aspire to live a godly life. But perfection, to be perfect like God, it does not happen. In fact, that's one of the Luciferian sin that Satan tried to tell the man and the woman, that the woman first, that if you eat this fruit, you shall be like God. We can never be like God, guys. So enjoy your imperfection. Enjoy the fact that you can create something that can be perfect for a while, and then later on start wearing off, because you are a human being, which symbolizes imperfection, and that's beautiful. So I'll talk about imperfection here, and I'll give you all the types of imperfection. Perfectionism issues, and I also give you the psychology behind the imperfection, where mostly it stems from. We all know someone who never is happy about their achievements. This can be a very detrimental approach to life, but it is most of the time it is stemming from childhood traumas, or environments in which people expected so much from us that when we get something that we're supposed to celebrate, we feel like we've not achieved anything, because we want something very specific that is connotating success, or connotating perfection. No, guys, celebrating small wins is tantamount for celebrating big wins. Okay, it is very, very important. Little drops of water makes mighty ocean. Make sure you celebrate your small wins. Okay, so autumn leaves. Chapter 7 is autumn leaves. Here I talk about a tree can survive without bearing fruit. However, it can survive without roots. Here I talk about the fact that I took inspiration from Soldati. I'm Italian, so during the Italian literature, I read Giuseppe Ungaretti's poem entitled Soldati, which means soldiers, and the translation says that soldiers, we are in autumn on trees like leaves. Now, autumn leaves, if anyone knows the seasons, I don't necessarily, my favorite season is summer. I don't necessarily like autumn. Now, autumn, if you have actually noticed something, right? In autumn, there's summer, and then there's autumn, and then there's spring, and then there's summer, right? In summer, all the leaves are green, right? Very nicely, and I metaphorically use summer for our youth, ages, right? When we are young, we are green, we are beautiful, we are vibrant, we are happy, and then when we get to a certain age, I believe after 40s, we start getting into our autumn years. Now, the autumn years can be quite dark if your summer years you've not used your green energy to do anything for your life that you can actually benefit from. A lot of people are in their autumn years and they're very much depressed because they use their vibrant years in futile encounters, in futile activities, and then now they are working extremely hard to catch up. But when you are in your autumn years, it means that your leaves are going to start falling. You're not going to be as healthy or as strong as you used to be. There are a few people that are pretty much very strong in their 40s and 50s. However, life hits. You may have other priorities and you feel like you're behind. And so what I've been trying to tell people here is that do not be an autumn leaf whilst you are in your summertime. Of course, enjoy your summertime, enjoy your summer years, but make sure that when the autumn time hits, right, you have something to account for. You have enough acquired during your summer years where you had a lot of energy, where you had a lot of green energy. So make sure that your roots are pretty much ingrained in the sand so that you can collect a lot of food for that photosynthesis in your autumn. So that is what I talk about in the autumn leaves. But of course, this is just a summary of the book in all the chapters. It goes into great depths. Now, finally, chapter 9, I talk about facing fear for courage. So in chapter 9, I talk about what doesn't kill you only makes you stronger. So what doesn't kill you not only makes you stronger, but it also makes you an ultra human. What I mean by that, chapter 9, chapter 9 is very much personal to me. When I was finishing my PhD and my final year of PhD, when I got really, really sick, and I had to face a lot of my fears that had been succumbing for years, and everything was just summing up. It's like, oh my god, like, am I gonna die? And if I die, will people actually remember me? How are they gonna remember me as? Have I been a good person? And all these, for like a whole year when I was not well, it basically sort of like got me into this mental space, and I'm like, facing fear for courage. I faced my fears when I was at the most vulnerable point of my life. You see, sometimes when you try to hide from the things you're supposed to do, when you try to hide from your fears, life can make you face them when you least expected them, or when you're most vulnerable. And it's gonna be a lot more harder than when you were not vulnerable and you were gonna be able to face them a lot more quickly and a lot more efficiently without a lot of mental sort of like detriment to yourself. I don't know if that's English, but anyways, you understand what I'm trying to say. So some of the subtitles are fear, pain, and mental health. I'll go deeper into it, and I give advice as to when people have things that they have to deal with. I suggest that they did it right from the get-go without pushing things in their subconscious brain, because right now you are young, and so you may have the defense mechanisms to suppress. But when you get to a point where you are vulnerable, you can't suppress anymore. Everything will just flood back, and it will flood back in such a way that you may have no more control over it, and it may run you crazy. And that's how mental health actually starts. That's how all these personality disorders start. That's how people go mad and stuff like that. So guys, I want to raise awareness. If you feel like something, please do not suppress it. Go through it and heal from that trauma or experience or whatever it may be before starting. Before moving on. Okay. So yes, I talk about my issue, my sickness that I had, and by the grace of God, I am fine now. And I'll talk about how health is the most critical asset, and I'll talk about the fact that love can heal you more than drugs. You see, most of the time when people are sick, there's evidence to show that when people are sick in loving environment, they heal faster. Because human beings, love is, I believe, the only thing that makes us tick, that makes us feel alive, that makes our essence, our life complete. Because God is love and He created us out of His love. I think whenever a human being is expressing love is when they express their utter self, the innermost part of their being, their essence, is when a person experiences love and when they give love. But if you do not go through the process of healing and understanding that you are deserving of love and you can't even give this most amazing thing. So I'll talk about faith. I'll talk about how my calling happened. I also talk about my new journey that I'm going to that I have embarked on. Accepting my calling as as a minister of God and all this kind of stuff here in the book. So chapter 9, yes, is the new journey, where I talk about my encounter with Christ and the crazy experience that I've had since the last last year, when I had my encounter with Christ and with God. So guys, it also contains images of when I met the former president of Ghana, when I met dignitaries at the University of Oxford. It also has pictures of of people, famous scientists, people I've encountered in my journey as a neuropharmacologist, or in my journey as a scientist. I've also encountered great academics. I've encountered great politicians, great businessmen, and those pictures and those events, how I got to meet them, are all in this book. So at the back of the book looks like this. The front looks like this. And so the back of the book, it says that this book originates from a deep interest in motivating my generation, especially the young ones, to pursue their dreams, irrespective of how grand the obstacles facing them may be. Utilizing the power of positive thinking can give you a lifetime of success and achievement. The most valuable asset you have in your quest to live your dream is time. Within this, you can build your mindset, the powerhouse to your dreams. Whether you know it or not, your thoughts are responsible for whatever place or situation you are in right now. Therefore, with this book, I hope to help anyone seeking to build a positive mindset to realize their dreams. It is really never too late. Perhaps delay is not denial. So guys, that is overcoming. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope that you will click the links down below and you will purchase this book. This book is going to be a blessing to you. If you're not a reader, it is a very easy read. Purchase this, give some to your friends, give some give some to your family member, and I know they're going to be blessed by this. We always talk about representation of Black people in academia, in successful places. So I wanted to be like a role model for these young kids to look up to, for them to look up to me, and that's